So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 2024 edition of our property masterclass. And this one is going to be amazing. Honestly, our speaker today is going to blow you away. My name is Elizabeth Bukor. As you know, I am a financial coach and I help women change the way they think about money so they can start building wealth. I'm the founder of Wealth from Little, where I'm sharing my journey along with you guys on how I'm building or rebuilding my wealth from little. Our co-host today is a wonderful, wonderful woman named Toyin Ayandare. She is the co-founder of a property company called Icon Range. I'll drop the link in the chat so you can definitely look into it. She is a property investor. She's a property developer. She has tried so many different types of property strategies, which she's going to share with us today. She has failed, she has overcome, she has achieved, she has kept going. She's so resilient in her journey, and she's a mother. She's just an amazing woman of God as well. And so I will like to introduce you all to Toyi if she is ready for us. Hi, Toyi.
Hello, I'm ready for you. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. And I do hope my voice will carry through. I've had a lot of partying, and so I've lost my voice a bit, but hopefully it'll be good. But thank you so much for having me. I look forward to a fantastic session. Looking forward to share my journey. And if I can help one or two people, I'll be more than happy to. But yes, I am a woman, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a property developer, I'm God-fearing, I am so many things, but really and truly, and what I wanted to sort of make clear today, I am just one of us. And if I can do the things I'm doing, I know many more people, and I'm still on my own journey as well, still trying to continue to build wealth from little. So yeah, amazing. And thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth.
Oh, thank you, Toyi. And guys, one thing you're definitely going to get from Toyin, which you might not even realize that you're going to get, is some confidence. Toyin has this huge self-confidence, and I know where she gets it from. Maybe she'll tell you a bit of how she's got that self-confidence, but she has so much self-confidence, which has allowed her to push through barriers, overcome fears, and look at risks and change them into opportunities and just keep stepping forward. And it's something that as women, sometimes we do need self-confidence that actually you can do this, you can achieve it. Even if you haven't seen the results that you're looking for yet, it's coming. Okay, so I just wanted to add that to just look out for when you leave this call and you start thinking, actually, I'm actually going to step out and do that thing today. So tell us how you started. How did this idea of stepping into property just come about? How did you get started?
It's an interesting one, and I say it's an interesting one because I look back to what growing up, and I grew up in Nigeria, and I went to Nigeria a few years ago, and I went to what used to be my bedroom, and everything was still as it was. It was a family home, and I looked on my wardrobe at the time, and I didn't realize it was some form of vision board at the time. But I looked and I saw that there were lots of cuttings of properties abroad. Now like I said, I grew up in Nigeria. At the time, there was no aspirations of moving outside of the country. However, the little me, probably in my 9, 10, 11-year old or whatever self, used to cut out stuff from magazines and paste it on my wardrobe. I just look at it, and it was just looking back now, and I saw those pictures of lovely properties that I used to take pictures of. And so for me, I always say, do not ignore those little dreams that we had as young, and and something I'm definitely wanting to encourage in children as well, to say, you know, allow yourself to dream. Now, I didn't know what that looked like, and I didn't know that property was there, was something of interest. However, fast forward a few years, came into relocated to the UK, went schooling, came out looking for opportunities. That's that dream that I allowed to incubate somewhere somehow, now met with the opportunity that could have that comes up for everybody. But then it was almost like there's a preparation that happened, and then when that opportunity came about, I allowed myself to be. So I got into property purely out of, I needed something more, and I needed something more because my journey is obviously gone from working in McDonald's to trying to get a corporate job, and then thinking, actually, I wanted more. And wanted more came about when I had my first child. I had the baby, everything seemed okay. She had a few medical issues, and I used to work in London. I live in Essex, and every time I dropped this young girl that did not ask to be in this world in nursery, and I'll get a call, she had a medical issue, or there was a medical emergency, I needed to come back. And as much as I loved what I was doing or whatever, the journey from coming down from London back to Essex to pick up a nursery or meet them up in the hospital, because she had a skin flare up, she had quite a few complications, and that journey used to, when you say it humbles you, you know, when something was like, it was like a 1 hour journey, but it felt like 20 hours, and I couldn't get fast enough to my baby. And I would be crying on that train journey saying, God, what life is this? I mean, what's the money I'm going to get wherever I am, that I cannot be there for my child? And one of the things that I always desired as a human being was to be an intentional parent. And I just realized that all of those dreams were slipping away. And I told myself, I like the fine things of life. I don't want to compromise on that, but I also wanted to be there. And I needed to look for something in between to make me available and yet still be not compromise on the standard of life that I wanted. And it was then I said, there has got to be something more. There's got to be something more. I have to do more. I didn't know what that was. And to be honest, I did not have the network of people that could allow me dream. So there was nothing around me to actually, and I hope, I just want to set the scene of where he's, I know it seems like a long story, but I want to set the scene of how opportunities, things happen in our daily life. And so all of that was happening, and I was thinking, God, I want more. This girl needs more. I need to be there for her. I cannot continue to do. And I don't want to say to the devil. It became almost like a weekly thing. There was always a call. I needed to come down quickly. I needed to go there. I'll get there to the nursery. I mean, there are loads of times that the nursery, I'll just get there, see her, break down. They'll take me to the office. And I was the one they were comforting, not the child anymore. Because I was just like, why? Why are we in this situation? What exactly is happening? I would pray about it. I'd be worried. And I just told myself, I needed to be there. I know I settled that I needed to be more available for her. So I needed to leave the job, but I didn't know what that looked like. And I knew we had the mortgage, we had other things that had been around that. It wasn't just a case of I wanted to be there for her, and I'll just step away from it all. And just there and then, I think around the time she started school, I met a few moms, and there were 18 kids in the class, and every single mom did not work. However, would go to play dates, and they lived in amazing houses. They had amazing cars. And I told myself, I came back telling my husband, Toby, I said, there's something we're not doing right. Because these ladies, they were living on one source of income, and they had amazing lives. How can we do it that we have just one source of, that is just one person working, and we can still do this? And I started asking the questions, and that's how property came to be. I mean, literally, that's the source of it. It literally was just like, okay, there is something. Now, they were not into property, but I think for me at that point, it was like, okay, definitely there is more. You don't have to both be working or both be tired and being a 9 to 5 or whatever to actually make the life that we dream. So it was that insight into how the rich lived, if you want to call it that, and just told me, okay, yes, I needed to do it. And straight away, the likes of Ayandare. I'd been watching those programs, I'd been seeing all of those things, but I'd never given myself permission. The moment I realized, yes, I can do this, then all of those opportunities came about. I think I've given you a long story, but I just wanted to give you that background.
No, that's amazing. You said something which is really important. You said you gave yourself permission. And I think that's something that many of us, including myself, especially myself, that when I want to do something, I don't give myself permission to do the thing that I want to do. I think St. Paul said it in Galatians, the thing I want to do, I don't do, yet the thing I don't want to do, that I do.
Exactly.
So, but yes, so sometimes we do have to give ourselves permission to be able to desire more and to do the work, take the action to actually achieve what we want to achieve. So you wanted to live in a place where to live a lifestyle that you had in mind, but you also wanted to be able to be available for your child. That was your maybe should I say your trigger moment that pushed you into thinking I need something else. And so you discovered property. And what were the first challenges that you faced when you was first starting out? So take us back to that first year of starting in property.
So obviously sharing my story, and just obviously saying there was no role model. There was no one to show me the ropes. I didn't know anyone that had been in property. I remember the first year when I decided I was going to do this. So I got inspired watching Ayandare. It's a BBC One show that I always watch. I used to watch it before until I gave myself permission to actually be and know that this is possible. And then I started going out to financial advisors and say, you know, I've seen this program. They're buying all these properties at auction. I want to buy it as well. Where do I get the funds? And then I kept on getting told, oh, no, it doesn't work that way. A lot of these people already have inheritance. They have loads of money in their bank account. And I kept on, so I literally, I'm not joking. I walked, because I left, I decided that, okay, you know what, I think at that point I got pregnant for my second. And so I decided, told myself I wasn't going back to 9 to 5. And I would walk the high streets, knocking on every bank to say, how do you get money to buy property? I want to do this thing. And every single door was being shut, as in, nope, you cannot do this. And I'll come back, watch the program. That person I saw doesn't look like they had large amounts of money sitting in their bank account. There must be a way. So I had that battle. And I'm not joking, everywhere I went, it was almost like there was no way to do it. So I decided, actually, what can we do? We decided to raise finance in a different way, which against one of our property at the time. And I bought the first property. I'm starting to say I bought the first property, but I must have gone to about 50 auctions, going every single time. I kept getting outbid. My husband used to go, so obviously he was living in working in London, so he would take his lunchtime, go and look at the property. I would view the property. I say, okay, this is property you're going to buy for me. I don't want to leave the babies at home. You go to the auction for me. This is their maximum amount. And every time you get outbid. And I was actually say, okay, maybe it's because you're the one going. I'll go myself. Same thing, get outbid. And I'll start watching the journeys of these people. They bought it at this amount. How much have they spent refurbishing? I would drive around the property. Just being nosy, trying to look for a way out. And eventually I decide, you know what, again, giving myself permission that it just seems like this door is being locked. And if I keep circling around or what it could possibly be, I would not do this. And I remember the first property I was going to buy at auction, I told my husband, I said, I'm buying this property. It doesn't matter if I lose money. I'm happy to lose money on this first one because I just want to get off this idea. If this thing is not going to be, let me look for something else. It just looked like I was trying, I was sitting on an idea that could be, but it was taking too long. And I bought this property with the premise that I was going to lose money, but I wanted to get past the first stage of looking for property. I wanted to start dealing with builders, start looking at the selling stage, because at the time I used to sell the properties that I bought. And so I wanted to get past. I said, I bought that first property, and I didn't lose money. Obviously, it was a property that I lent the ropes on. I think I made about 10 to 15,000, and I was very happy with that. To say, oh, this is possible. And I think it was almost a case of that first property opened the door to saying, yes, Toyin, you've struck gold. Now the gold wasn't in £10,000 because I knew that if I made that in a year, that wasn't going to do anything for me. But it was a case that yes, you know how to deal with the builders, you now know the logic, and all of a sudden the property world that I did not know anything about, nobody knew. And this is the power of networking and talking to people. Because I mean, I've been knocking on loads of doors and saying what's happening, speaking to family members, who knows anyone that does property. And all of a sudden, all of that work I'd been putting in started opening up. And straight away, it was almost like within that first year, I got to know about networking meetings, property networking meetings. I got to know about property trainings. I got to know about people, family members that were into property that I did not know. Albert doing in a different form. And all of a sudden, I was like, wow, I can do this. Straight away, second property and all of that. And it started opening up like that. Now, obviously, the manner in which I did those things in the first few years has changed over the years. But I think the main thing, the strategy was finance, not having the knowledge and having lots of closed doors. Hence why I do the things that I do now, was just pretty much like, I don't want people to face what I face, because at the time it just looked like nobody around me was doing this. And I really wanted to. So yeah, it was pretty much raising the finance, having access to knowledge, and all of those things that were sort of my stumbling blocks in the first year.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I want someone to put this in the chat. One thing that Toyin said, and I'm paraphrasing, is the gold is in the knowledge. The gold is in the knowledge. It wasn't in the money, right? Because when you know what to do and you know how to do, or you know where to get the information to do what you want to do, then that is the goal, because money comes and money goes. It's very, it's fluid. Yeah. Okay. So you started with no money, no network, and no knowledge. I have two questions, and with regards to that very first year. First was, then how did you find the money? Because for many people, I have no money, I have no money, I have no money is the main thing. Then the next thing is also, I don't know what to do. And I know you answered that. You just did it afraid. You did it rough. You did it messy. You did it anyway because you just needed to push yourself out of that, oh, I don't know what to do cycle of thinking. So how do you overcome those, how did you overcome in that first property, albeit being messy and not the way you would do it now, of not having any money, being young, you know, having very little kids, just even a newborn, and some probably not having much time and not having much knowledge, and constantly having doors shut in your face? Like, how did you overcome that? The main one, that like finance, and then.
So I'll start from the second question. And it's a phrase that I use till today. And some people, I mean, I've been doing this now full time for about 12 years. And sometimes people think, oh, you must be a pro. Every single time I'm going to close and then complete on a property, I just still have that feeling in my tummy, say, is it the right one? Because once you've signed those documents, you put hundreds of thousands of pounds, in some cases millions, you just think, wow, it's done, I'm liable for this now. It's like, so I still feel that whether I'm buying a property worth 100,000 or £1 million, I still feel that. And one of the phrases I always say is, feel the fear and do it anyway. And that was the one thing that helped me at the time. I felt the fear and I just went along and said, you know what, I can do this and I will do this. And hence why I bought that first property, knowing fully well I could lose everything. I think I got to a point where I did not allow money rule me. I realized that, you know what, it's a tool. The same way I got this money, I can get it again. So even if I lost it all, and I'm not saying it's an easy decision to get to, but even if I lost it all, I would have to start from scratch and make this money back. But that's the only way to actually get to the other side. I got to go through that risk, that fear, everything. Of course, they're calculated risk, but I have to do it. That's the only way I can find out if this works. And that's a decision I still make every single day. I make certain decisions and I'm thinking, it could go either way. It's always the case. It could go either way. But the only way I can know if it's going to go in the way that I want it to go is to try. And I did that. And that's what I did buying that first property. In terms of raising finance, having got the door being slammed in my face several times, knowing what I didn't want to do was actually, and hence why maybe it was difficult to buy the first one, was I didn't want to use all my savings, every single fund I could find out, because I'd seen from what I'd heard from all the shows, it wasn't exactly, they were buying hundreds of thousands of property. I did not have that money. So I ended up, it was a mixture of all of the savings we could gather from our jobs, every single penny to my name, I put towards it. So it was a risky game, because if it went, it was going to blow. And I did not even buy that first property with finance, because again, I was told you have to buy cash. Those property run down, they're not mortgageable. I didn't know there were other forms of finance available at the time. Again, knowledge. So it was a mixture of that. Plus, at the time, we had just done up a property. We had refurbished our property. I think just speaking to the bank again, I realized I could release some equity from a property. So I did that. So it was a case of every single penny putting it towards to buy that property. But there was now a limit. The problem that I had was a limit to what I could buy, because I did not have the money. I only thought I could buy cash. So I was looking at 100% of the money. So the 100% of the amount I got did not allow me buy anything too fancy. Hence why there was, so yes, I did. That's what I did. I literally put every single penny. It was a case that maybe even the next day I could probably not buy groceries, and I was fine with that. Just like, let's get through this. Let's see what happens, and then we'll go from there. And that's how I did it.
That's amazing. That is major risk. And you and your husband obviously just knew that you had that determination that you had to see it through. You had to see if you were going to sink or swim, and see what you guys were made of. And you did swim, and many decades later, you're still here. So can you share with us, like, for beginners, what strategies are there now, like based on your experience, on your knowledge that you've gained now, so we don't have to make the same mistakes? What strategies are there now that as beginners we can use to get started, building wealth in property?
Okay, one of the things I wanted to touch on before I answer that question was going back to how I bought it then. Because obviously buying that first property, putting every single thing, like you said, it was major risk. Yes, it was a major risk looking at what I had access to. But what it was, and I think this is very, very key for a lot of us, what motivated me to take that major risk and not see it as such a big risk as it was the network. I then got exposed to certain I won't even call it network. It's what you see, your vision, what's around you. I remember I said that my daughter started school, and fortunately for us, we had moved into, and how I was able to raise that finance. We had moved from one area to an area to be, and it was a much affluent area. And what was all around me was people of affluence. I mean, of what, obviously, what I could see on the outside.
Your environment.
The environment. It wasn't necessarily like I knew what was going on, but the environment for me was the possibilities. That's all I could see. And so for me, what was driving me was more than just the amount I was letting go of. I always say to people, you can say your parents did not put you in that environment. It's fine. It's what you are assessing the situation now and saying, if I do not have, I'm not in this particular environment, I don't have this network, how can I buy into those networks? Because it's a major game changer. Straight away, I'm not joking. It was pretty much like from today to tomorrow. It's like what I thought was not possible today. Straight away the next day, I'm like, oh, yes, we can do this, we can do this. And it was just because the environment had changed. I was seeing people doing amazing things. So if you need to change your environment, if you need to grow, change your environment to where you want to get to. Forget about if you're not exposed to things that makes your mind think differently, the truth is, we can, Elizabeth can keep pointing to you. I can say things to you. If you go back to that environment of little, of that suppresses you, then there's only so much you can actually go. So change your environment. For me, it wasn't intentional, but when I saw it, I mean, where we live now, and I'm deviating a bit, where we live now, actually it happened from my daughter being invited for a play date. And this area is literally about 5 minutes from where I used to live. I didn't know it existed because, again, there was nothing. I went for a play date and I was like, no, this is not possible. In this, I mean, how is this lovely estate, loads of beautiful big houses, £1 million houses? I was like, what? And I'm not joking. Every single day, I would drop off my daughter in school. I would drive down to this area and I'll just keep walking around because I needed to change my environment. I needed to see it. My father and my father's father and my uncles, aunties, nobody had achieved that. But I wanted to change my environment to see that. And the more I saw it, the more the closer I became to reality. And eventually it happened. So change your environment. But to come back to your question, what strategy? It's a tricky one because I always say there's no such thing as the perfect strategy. Is what works for each individual. Are you time strapped in terms of the fact that you do not have the time? So, and the kind of strategy you will be open to doing will be different from someone that's got loads of time, they might not have loads of cash. So I really don't believe there's any such thing as the perfect strategy. But I don't want to leave everyone without anything. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not being secretive or trying to go over so many, but there are loads of strategy. I'll say if you do not have the time, so if you don't have the money, but you have time and you want to sort of look at how to start off, looking at things like rent to rent can help you, rent to service accommodation, rent to HMOs, which is house of multiple occupancy, that can help. However, if you have a little bit of money, a little bit of time, I'd say being able to do the BRR strategy, which is the buy, run down properties, you refurbish and you refinance. When I started off, my strategy was buying at auctions, refurbishing the property and selling on. And I don't sell as I used to before because I realized what was motivating me then was I needed to replace my salary. I was earning this amount. I needed to know that amount was gone through. And I was now letting go of loads of great properties just because I was being driven by, I need to sell. Now I don't sell anymore because I realize real estate is one of those things you just need to have in your portfolio, keep as much as you can. And hence why we try to keep as much as we can now. But again, I think that's a phase. So we went through a phase like for the last 7, 8 years, I don't think I sold anything. But I think I'm coming up to the phase where I need to start selling again because again, my portfolio size is getting to quite big that I can afford to start doing it. So and what my point is, there's really no hard and fast rule of what you need to do. Look at your situation. Are you currently in a 9 to 5 that doesn't allow you?
It's 9 to 5. It's £80.
Sorry. Are you currently in a 9 to 5 that doesn't allow you the flexibility to do much? So again, in that case, you may have money, but you don't have the time. So you may be looking at things like buying, refurbishing, and using single lets. Whereas someone else might have the money, but have a bit of time and just think, actually, I want to do HMOs. Now, HMOs will give you more cash flow. HMOs, house of multiple occupancies, room lets. For those of you that are posh, never lived in one, I've lived in the room only, so I know what it means and I know the finance you can get from it. So you can do things like that. Or you can do serviced accommodation, which is where you rent out the property by the night. So your Airbnbs, your hotel-like properties. So there's a lot of strategy. I mean, there's commercial properties. One of the things that helped us build our portfolio really fast was commercial conversions. We used to I buy commercial properties, banks, offices, shops, and I convert them to residential units. That really helped us grow the portfolio really fast. I once bought Barclays and Lloyd's. They were next to each other, converted them to 6 apartments each. So that's 12 apartments straight away in our portfolio. We kept all of that. So things like that, you just literally go from buying one property, being able to split it to multiple units. Yeah, so I don't know if I've answered the question.
Yeah,
I really don't think that is a
absolutely.
one.
For everyone, it's going to be a different strategy. So what works for someone else may not necessarily work for you. And you've shared, like, if you have no money, but you do have time, well, there's always a resource that we all have. We either have money, we either have time, or we have maybe knowledge, maybe
Yeah.
access to knowledge. Even if you don't have the knowledge, you have access to knowledge, which I will ask you next about, access to knowledge and training, and what role should that play in your property journey, or did that play in your property journey? But if you don't have money but you have time, you said that we could invest in rent to rent, and different types of those types of strategies where you don't need to put your own money down per se. Can you tell us how best, if you don't have the money, right? If you don't have the money, for those of us who don't, and you want to get into property, maybe you want to go through this rent to rent or any of the other strategies you mentioned with regards to renting, what are the things that we should watch out for? And how best should we approach that situation? And yeah, how best should we move forward in that situation as newbies?
Okay, it's a good question, and I always say this to any of my mentees, and the amount of people that have gone through some sort of training in the past that literally came to us as £0, and I think the key thing for me is the knowledge, because when you have the knowledge, you realize that when we say you have £0, is yes, you have £0, but property doesn't need your money to actually get you started. It just needs money. Where you get the money from is a different conversation. And a lot of us have got access to money. What we do not have is the knowledge that would help you see how you can convert that money. So to invest in property doesn't have to be your money. It has to be money being spent. So a lot of us will be able to access money from family, from friends. One of the things that you might have built over time is integrity, right? You've built integrity with family, with your network, and they know for a fact that whatever happens, Elizabeth is a woman of her words. Even if I give her a penny, I all know that 100% Elizabeth would give me back that penny. The terms might change. The situation surrounding it might change, but I know she's a woman of integrity that I can get that back from. And I always say there's nothing that beats that integrity. So there is access to finance around you in terms of your immediate network. There's also access to finance from financial institutions that time may not permit me to sort of go into, but there are loads of available. I always say the key thing is having a good credit rating and knowing fully. So it's like that's one of the things you can protect. If you don't have money, don't get yourself into debt and get yourself into a situation that you're damaged your credit rating and you cannot have access to finance from credits from financial institutions. But there are loads available. The amount of people that I know that have actually bought properties from combination of what I've just talked about without any of their own money. So even without any of your own money, you can go ahead and buy a property, not just the rent to rent. One of the things you've got to realize when starting property is it's going to be uncomfortable to speak to family and friends, because like no one wants to put themselves in a position where you feel like I'm asking that person for money, but it's a business. And it took me a while to understand that the most successful businessmen and women that we celebrate around the world, a lot of them do not actually trade with their money. They've understood the power of money and how you can actually send money on errand and knowing how you can exchange money. So anytime there's money around me, it's a case of, it might not be my money, but how can I multiply that money so that I can use, I think that's actually wealth, when you are able to multiply money that isn't yours and use it for your own benefits. And I also understand that it's a win-win situation for everyone around you. So a lot of this family and friends might have 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 sitting in the bank account, getting 1 or 2% I mean, that's the money that when I go to the bank and get commercial finance, that's the money the bank gives to me. They charge me 10, 12% per year, but they literally taking savings of my family and friends and giving it to me. I pay them a huge interest and they take this share in between and give my family and friends 1%. So why not in some way cut out the bank and speak to my family, give them a higher percentage than what? So don't be selfish about it. Don't just ask family and friends and say, borrow me money and just as per my friend. No, it's a business transaction. Make sure it works. Give a win-win situation. Let them get much more than they were getting at the bank, and you can use that money, multiply it using all of the strategies you've learned in property, adding value to property, refinance, return that money. Now you have an asset, and that's how you build your capital. And then the next one you might be able to do yourself, or you can do it. You might need to do it for two properties, do it that way. And then the next one, you are in the situation where you can stand on your own if you choose to. So there are loads of ways to actually do that in terms now I've lost the question, but I don't know how I got there.
No, yes. So that was part of the question, was like, if you don't have any money, but maybe you have time, or if you don't have money, you should try and create the time. How would one get started? And you answered the first part, which was first raising money, and then the next part would be what are other strategies that you could use without money?
Yeah, and so either way you want to look at it, property needs money, right? I have had loads of people that would, so you can easily raise the money to buy it yourself. You can decide to gain the knowledge and work with someone that doesn't. There are loads of people around you that they don't even have the appetite to build the knowledge, or they don't have the risk personnel to be able to go ahead and do these things. You can gain the knowledge. Start from research. You can raise the knowledge and actually go ahead and invest that knowledge, right? Invest that knowledge in helping them. It's really key. You cannot be that person that does not have the time. You don't have the money. You don't have the you don't want to burn the midnight candle to study and learn. You cannot be that person. So you've got to look for which is the easiest access for me. Can I free up my time to do this? Can I free up? Can I raise finance? Can I gain the knowledge so that I'm at least ahead of the other people that don't have the time? So look for which one is easiest for you to do and start off with that one. Eventually, you want to get to a place where you have time, you have the money, you have the knowledge, but look for the easiest one and tackle that, which is look for how you can get better at this, get better than most people, get better and getting knowledge. There are loads of free resources out there. I always say when you pay for your knowledge, you pay attention. So don't be afraid to invest in yourself. But even if you didn't want to even spend on it, there's loads that you can start off with to get you to a comfortable stage where you think, okay, actually, I can now invest my time in doing this. I can invest money. I can actually go get credit cards. And this is not, I'm always very careful when I say this, but I've seen this work several times. I've done it myself. Actually get credit to invest in myself. That I always say the greatest asset you can invest in is yourself, but know exactly what it is you're doing when you're doing that. But I have seen people do it, and I always say, don't go and do it if you're not sure about what you're doing. But when you know this is right and you're ready to invest a lot in yourself, you're ready to go for it. Go through any legal means that there is to actually pour into yourself. But because when you do that, that's a gift that keeps on giving.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Toyin. And just following on of a question that was asked in the chat, at what point did training become essential in your journey? Or when did you take your first or formal training in property?
I decided, well, for me, it was a different journey because my education started from before I started investing, which is obviously watching Homes Under the Hammer. But it was a long journey because I did not know anyone doing what I was doing, even though now it seems like, how would you, I mean, it just seems like everything is everywhere. But at the time, I did not know. And so for me, it was a tricky, I'd started I watched on those I bought the first property, second property, third property. I'd literally continued on that journey before I realized there was property training, and there was actually property, classes. Hence why I always say I learned the hard way, because I made mistakes that I could have learned from others, but I did not know. But when I did find out about education, I was like, it was a no-brainer. There were other strategies that I had not learned, and anyone can say it was easier for me at the stage because I started making money from property. But I always say it's the flip side, because I could easily have had that ego and chip on my shoulder to say, I've started making money from property. There's no need to learn from anyone else. But no, I went in, I think the first strategy that because I even started doing commercial conversions before I even got new, because again, I was one of those, I'm an action taker. I give that to myself. When I know that there is a possibility of this, I would go for it. I'm bold enough to own my decisions, that even if it went wrong, hey, I'll own it. I would go and do my crying in my closet. And I am that sort of person. I'm not afraid to own my mistakes. Hence, when I do that, and it gives me permission to actually say, I can easily own my successes. And so by the time I realized service accommodation was the first training I went for, and at the time, I'd seen people doing rent to rent. I'd seen people doing all of those, and I was like, it's for those. I was a snob. I said it was for those that have not actually seen the light in property. And it was until when we wanted to build our house. So we bought this property, we knocked it down, we're going to build a house, and we had to live in an hotel for 5 months with 2 children. It wasn't funny at all. It was terrible, actually. I then realized that actually I had been the one missing the trick, saying I wasn't open to service accommodation or open to rent. I didn't know those things exist. And then I got trained, and let me even know a bit more about this. What does it look like? And God knows that was a high opener, because once I did that, I went through the training, went through some mastermind as well, did everything. And just one client, when I started my service accommodation arm of the business, paid over £500,000, one client just getting properties from us. Imagine what I would have lost out if I did not open myself to that strategy. I would never have known that was possible. And I was able to deliver that service through a mixture of properties that we own, but majorly rent-to-rent properties. Because whilst I was buying and good, I was not buying in locations that I needed for service accommodation. So I realized there was actually room in my portfolio to actually start using rent to rent as a strategy. So rent to rent isn't just for beginners, it's also for experienced developers like me who were doing massive development, having our cash tied up there, whereas I could get cash flow from property. So yeah, just as an example of that's how I got into training. And once I did that, I realized, oh my goodness, I've been missing the trick. This is things I started going to masterminds, mentorships. I got mentorship. And this was me as an experience. I'd done a lot of, but it's something I constantly still have, will continue to have. I run mastermind groups, but I also am part of mastermind groups because I believe in the power of networking, being around like-minded people, keeping me on my toes, helping me to achieve great things.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that story. And I like the fact that, your first trainer was probably yourself and your experiences. And then you actually saw the opportunities. And you seem to have used all strategies where you have nobody, strategies where you have money, strategies where you have no knowledge, strategies now when you have knowledge. And going from, having like zero in property to where you are now. And if you don't mind sharing us and Toyin, if you don't know, Toyin runs a company called Icon Range, and it's a property company. If you don't mind sharing with the audience for inspiration, like how much your portfolio is worth and the time that you have been growing that, like from that first day when your child was ill and you got triggered.
So I've been doing this. I went into this full time. So I went. So I've been doing this for 12 years now. Yeah. So that from the first day I started going through the streets till date, it's been about 12 years. I've been doing this, and I will share with you what my portfolio size is. But before I do, one of the things I always say is everyone's journey is different. I don't let the size of my portfolio make you think, when will I ever get there? And also, don't let the size of my portfolio stop you from dreaming. Everyone desires differently. I mean, because I've come across lots of different people, and some people would be like, I only want one property a year, and they're okay with it because they have other businesses, they're doing other things, and that's fine. Some people, literally, one of my students, maybe last year, I can't remember how many properties I bought, but they were literally like buying. They must have bought like 6, 7 properties within a short space of time, and that was their growth for me. You cannot let that intimidate you or make you do what you're not meant to do. So it's very important to have your own plan and know what works for you. I could grow my portfolio rapidly and double the size in the next year. That's what works for me. Or I could decide, actually, that's not my focus. I want to start up a charity next 2 years, and that will be my focus. So please, irrespective of what my portfolio size is and what it means to you, do not let it derail you from what you're doing. There are loads and loads of things that have affected or helped the size of my portfolio. My portfolio size, I think I'm currently at 14 million. Yes, I think.
And that's amazing, because starting with a dream from when you were a little kid, starting with a dream and then pushing it to that place of that deep desire that I want to achieve something, but I don't want to be tied to a 9 to 5 where I can't be there for my family. And then expanding it to the place of exposure where I'm seeing that this is possible for other people, but I haven't achieved it yet. What do I need to do? And filling in that gaps and consistently taking action, consistently knowing possibility of failure is there, but I'm still going to keep moving forward, right? Is what has pushed you over the first, over the second, over the third hurdles. And you, as you said, you keep on seeing hurdles. And I think that that's something that many of us tend to, like, we have this desire in ourselves. And like you said, maybe it's, you want to just replace your income, or you want to just have a little bit extra to do something, or you want to just be financially secure, financially independent, or financially free. And you're thinking that property is the way that you would like to do that. You would like to start investing in property. But then there's so many questions of, but what if it doesn't work out? What if I lose? What if I invest? Toyin has explained that she's done several strategies, not that she recommends it. She's put in all her savings, not that she's telling you to do the same. But she has risked on herself over and over and over again, because she has a clear vision of where she wants to go, and she knows she's not going to stop herself. And so one question I have for us here is, what do you have a clear vision of where you want to be, where God is calling you to be, or where you would like to be, what your desire looks like? Do you have a clear vision of it? And do you know what would actually stop you? Is there something that will stop you? So maybe it's property, and you're like, okay, I'm going to start rent to rent, or I'm going to start HMOs, or whatever the different strategy is. It's not necessarily about the strategy if we don't have the thoughts in our mind clear. Because if we allow the thoughts in our mind to beat us down, it doesn't matter whether you're investing in property, you're investing in stocks, you're investing in anything, you keep on like beating yourself down and bringing yourself below where you should actually be. If you have any questions, do drop it in the chat. But before we do wrap up, assuming you do have money, for those of us who do have money, but we don't have time, what would be the strategies that we can look into, and what are potential obstacles that could come in the way that we have to overcome?
Okay, so if you do not have the time, but you've got the money, there are a number of things you can actually do. Yeah, there are a number of things you can actually do. I was thinking of what are the options there. There are a number of things you can actually do. The first thing I would say is maybe using a portfolio building service. So that's one of the things that we sort of have started doing for our clients, realizing some people want to invest in property the way we do. Because obviously, I always say it's not difficult just going out there asking an estate agent, I want to buy a property, just buy a property, stick a tenant in there. That's no one needs any help in that regard. The danger there could be obviously buying in a property in an area where the capital growth is limited, or buying in an area where the cash flow doesn't actually cover the mortgage or whatever. So those are the dangers there, but that's easily solved. However, what I find, and I think there's a smart way to do it, is buying properties using one lot of deposit. So yes, it's good that you might not have the time, but you've been hardworking enough to be able to save up your deposit or get the money somehow, one of the ways of raising your capital. But you've been able to sort of get a good sum of amount, but you just don't want it to be a case of I've just bought this one property and then I have to save for the next 10 years to do the next one. That's the slowest way to build wealth. What I always say is, even if you don't have time, look for a portfolio building service that can help you buy properties in a way that you can buy with the amount of money you can, add value, release that initial equity so you can do the next one. And if you do that sort of in that way and manner, which is what we do, which is what I teach, which is what how I'll be able to build my portfolio. However, it does require time. So if you don't have time, rather than just say, I don't want to trust anyone, I'll just stick my property money in that one property, it's going to take you a long time to get that money again. Look for a portfolio building service that you can actually do in that way. And that way they would help you. Yes, you pay for the service, but then it's a lot cheaper than having to keep the money just tied in one property. So that's one option. Second option is looking for people around you that are trusted, that you can also do your proper due diligence on, that may have the time, and you collaborate with them and start building your portfolio. So know what you do not have and leverage on what is around you. So you may not have the time, leverage on someone that's got the time, a joint venture or some sort of opportunity there, and then that way you build that. Lastly, I always say evaluate on the I don't have time. What exactly does that mean to you? And again, you might not be the person that will buy 7 properties a year. You might buy one or two a year, or one in 2 years. How can you gain the knowledge and cleverly start? I always say this is about prioritizing what's important to you. When people say you don't have the time, evaluate what that means. Maybe you need to do some better time organization, because really there's no such thing as you don't have the time. Is you only have time for what you want to do. You might not invest in property the way I would in terms of heavily invested in it, but there's also a place and time. I mean, I once had this young lady. She was an architect. She had very long hours. She was 6 a.m. to about 7 p.m. in the office every single day. She had a little baby. And then she came to me and said, I have realized I don't have the time and I need to resolve this, because I cannot be this person for the next how many years of my life. So she was prepared to do almost like burn the midnight candle. She had to take time off work. So our annual leave for that year was taken to actually go and view properties. She would go and view when she bought the properties, she was project managing refurbs by going to the site. After she leaves work at 7 p.m., she's tired from 6 a.m. And this is here in the UK, right? I was surprised. I was like, I didn't know people worked such long hours. She would go from there, go and check the site in the night. It was that bad, but she was rugged for that year. And I can imagine how much it would have told on her, but she knew that it was just a short time. She was trying to buy back her time by doing this. Bought 2 properties within 6 months, got to a stage where she now said she was confident to say, I'm ready to leave this job. She's still working a 9 to 5, but that was the confidence, the soft landing she needed to get herself out of that job that was she was slaving away, if I would say, because obviously it was something that was hurting her. So evaluate what I don't have time looks like for you and see where you can excuse some apologies. I don't know how this is linked to my laptop. So that's really, really, really important for you to do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I love that point that you said, evaluate what I don't have time looks like for you. And I think you can say that with all the points that you made, like evaluate what I don't know looks like, or evaluate what I don't have money looks like. Because as you said, there are many ways you can get access to whatever it is that you don't have as well. So Toyin, before we leave, tell us a little bit about, the support that you offer. I know that, and for those who don't know, Toyin now shares, the knowledge that she's still running in her company, but she also shares it with other people. Tell us a bit about that service that you offer and what you teach. And
like Ryan said, it's just pretty much the struggles I had starting off. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't know anyone around me. I didn't want a lot of people to be in that position. So starting off Icon Academy, which is where that helps provide loads of the information. It's just pretty much sharing my journey. Was pretty born out of the desire and people just around me saying, oh, you're doing this amazing things. How can I be part of it? How can I learn? So that's how we started off. And over the years, what we've then done is run. I used to do loads of one-to-one mentorship. I don't do so much anymore, but I've sort of run masterminds. I do property tours, so I have people come around to our properties, see what we do, share the numbers, share how we purchase the property, just to help raise awareness, inspire people on what's possible. I'm currently building 12 apartments ground up, and one of the things that I'm hoping to do over the next few months is bring people to site and see how we purchase the land. It wasn't actually land; it was there was a manufacturing building on there which we knocked down. How we purchased the land, how we've been able to get finance for it, and what the process of getting planning permission and all of that. So obviously, again, just opening the door really for people, because at the time when I started, I felt that the doors were shut because I didn't know where to go. So I just wanted to bring their awareness more. So yeah, we run masterminds, so 12 months and olden program that literally teaches people how to, all of the things I've talked about, but more in depth. And I actually bring previous people that have gone through the program to share their deals, how they secured. Again, just taking away any gatekeeping and just opening the door to see for people to do that. We also run retreats, business retreats, international business retreats abroad. I love travel. I love luxury travel. So I just like, how do I combine that with what I love? I love talking about money and mixing up with travel. So we do that. Our next trip is in October. So it's a mixture of things really. February, March, I was running webinars they were all free webinars every week. We're just sort of talking about real life case studies of people that have actually invested in property. And so people were coming on, and we used to run that every Thursday. Something I'll probably bring back in the next few months. Again, just trying to raise awareness. Just any way possible, doing things like this, Elizabeth. You might think, oh, thank you so much for coming, but actually you're doing me a favor, because one of my major things was I wanted to reach 100,000 people with the knowledge of financial freedom, how you can attain things. And property is just the tool that I've used, but there are loads of other ways that people can actually achieve their financial freedom. So yeah, that's what Icon Academy does. And yeah.
That's amazing. Icon Academy sounds amazing. Please, can you share with us how, the links to Icon Academy? How do, if anyone's interested on joining, how we can join that and be part of this journey that you're taking loads of people on this year and going forward?
Apologies, I am not the most prepared, neither am I neither am I the best on how these things work. And I've just, because I usually don't do much on a Saturday, I've been left on my own because usually my team will be there to sort of help us. However, I think the easiest thing I can think of is ask people to send an email to academy@iconrange.co.uk, which and someone will be able to be in touch. One of the easiest entry points I usually would have, or I think I can actually do that, I usually would have with most people is booking a 10-minute session. I think because I have a free strategy session, and I say anyone that is looking to take their property journey to the next level, I always say to you, book a session with me. It doesn't cost you anything, but only do it if you are serious-minded, because it's my time and I'm investing in it, but I want to invest in someone that's looking to go the next level. Let's have a chat on saying where you are at, what you're looking to achieve, how I can help you, irrespective of any of the things that I've mentioned, whether through Icon Academy, whether to teach you how to do it, whether for you to actually just use our answering service or whatever it is, then obviously just, book a chat with me and then we can take it forward. And if it's just at the end of the chat, because I always say it's no obligation, it's just all you've left of is just be inspired and have a clear vision of what to do next, then again, that is still very, very good. I'll try and look, get up that link. But best is just send that icon academy at Icon Range, and someone within team will be able to direct you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Toyin. I'm saving that email address now. I've written it down in my notebook. So if you do have any questions, do put it in the chat. But one thing I want everyone to do is just drop a line of something you're taking away. You know, the reason we do this is because you might have heard something that someone else on the call didn't hear, and we are helping each other. So something that you've learned, someone else missed out on, they will pick that up as well. And it just reinforces the knowledge that we are gaining today. So just drop in the chat something that you've learned, or something that you've taken away, or something that really, resonated with you. Drop it in the chat. For me, I have so many notes that came to me as you were sharing. Give yourself permission. That's one thing that you kept on saying, and it really resonated with me in ways that I've held myself back. Irrespective of people or circumstances or institutions saying no, you still pushed forward, knowing that there is a way. You didn't just rely on the first no or the second no or the 50th no that you received. You kept pushing forward. And sometimes, there's that story of the guy who's digging for gold and he stops like 2 feet away from gold. And I don't know if it's a myth or it's a real story, or it's just something that people used to encourage people, but don't stop 2 feet from gold. Like, just keep pushing, and eventually you break through that. Is almost like an invisible barrier that now allows you to like see all the things that have always been there but you never saw before. Gold is in the knowledge. That is really so good. And it's so important, because irrespective of whichever method you're using to achieve financial independence or achieve financial stability, or what you're looking for financially, it's not going to be achieved just in the money, because if you just have money, it will just disappear if you have no knowledge of how to make it come, how to make it stay, how to multiply it. I thought that was so amazing. And then change your environment. If you are trying to grow and you've been stuck in the same place for over and over and over again, maybe you just need to be exposed to a whole new way of thinking, your environment internally, externally, so that you can start seeing new things. And there's no such thing as a perfect strategy. I think almost is like just like a breath of fresh air, like okay, we're not doing it wrong. Like, there's no such thing as a perfect strategy. Like, what is best for me based on my family, my circumstance, the things that I'm dealing with now in 2024 may not have been best for me last year and may not be best for me next year. And I'm just talking about myself. Talk less of comparing myself to what is best for someone else. So if you're married, if you're single, if you have one child, if you have 4 children, it might be very different. If you have a tough job, if you have a simple job, the strategies you might decide to employ might be quite different. So there are multiple strategies that we can use when getting started in property, but pick what's best for you in that time. Ara says, I learned that I should reevaluate my limiting beliefs. Absolutely. If you're not aware of the possibilities, you risk missing out on opportunities you might have taken had you known it was possible. Absolutely. I can't imagine how many possibilities. Maybe when I get to heaven, the Lord will let me know.
Can I just say something on
Yes.
that? Yeah, absolutely. Good. I always say that there are opportunities every single day that we go through. Some of them we're just not ready, or some of them we've not given ourselves permission. Some of them we're not even aware it's there, because you like Ara said, you're not even aware that you're missing out on those things. But something happened to me recently, just literally last week. So I turned 40 last week, and I had a destination party in Thailand with my friends and family. And one of the things that they all said round, they were talking about me. And I mean, it was like fuel for my next journey. And I've not shared this with my community, and something I want to share. But one of the things that they kept on going around is, oh, Toyin, you just keep going. I mean, they were just talking about how the things that I've done, and it was, I mean, I felt good. But what I realized is the way everyone was describing me made it sound as though there was something special or something different from me. I am different in me that made me do that. And I realized that, but I know me. I know that I'm just pretty much as anyone. And I just realize is actually the most important thing in life for us to do the things that we really want to do is just to get up and do it. It's that easy. Because when I hear people talking about me, I'm like, no, I have the same doubts you do. I have the same concerns that you, and I've been lucky enough, because through that journey, I stopped over in Singapore and I met with this lady, and I am one of our friends, and literally she opened up to me in that period. She's a billionaire, and one of the things she said to me is, the only way I've made my money is every single time I see an opportunity, I just don't say no. I just give myself, allow myself do it, knowing fully well it could go wrong, but the only way it can actually happen is for me to just say yes and make it work. And obviously, not every single opportunity would you take on, because you might not have a capacity. But she's saying that, then mixing it up with what I hear people talk about me, that I don't know how you keep doing. You just keep going. You don't take no for an answer. You don't you always see a solution in everything. And I was just like, that's, everybody can do this. And I made a bold declaration that day, and I said to you, you guys are not seeing anything, because I also know the limiting beliefs I have. I also know the ways I've been holding myself back. Hearing you say what you say now, giving me permission to actually go do the things that I know I've been called to do. And so I think the really important thing for everyone here today is, property is what we've discussed here today. However, there are things that you've been sitting on for far too long that you've got to tell yourself, you know what, just go do it. Every single successful person that you see that's achieving amazing thing, they feel the fear that you are feeling. They feel the holding back that you're feeling. They feel the challenges you're feeling. But the difference between the successful people and those that are not are just the fact that they take action. So it's really important about taking action, go doing it, and you'll be amazed at what you are capable of achieving.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much for that, and happy birthday for last week. Rachel says, great session, thank you. I have a question, please. With the current interest rates, is it wise to eject equity from a property?
There's nothing unwise about it. No, it's about doing your deal analysis. If I take that money out of my property now, and I'm taking it out at 5%, what am I doing with that money? Is it going to get me something more than the 5%? If it is, that's a straightforward yes. I think it's a straight mathematical question. We complicate it by thinking, oh, I don't want to get him out. I don't want to get any equity. It's a lot more expensive than where he was. I mean, I think about those that did this 30, 40, 50 years ago, way before my time, and they were borrowing money at 10, 15%. I still can't wrap my head how they made it work, but it worked at that time. So the question is, what am I, when you get that equity out, what would you do with the money? Whatever you're doing with the money cannot yield you less than 5%, otherwise you're losing it, right? But if you have equity sitting in the property, 10, 20, I mean, let's give a good example. You have 70,000 equity sitting in the property. That can easily buy you a property. And the beauty of being in the UK, I don't know about anywhere in the world, but it's the fact that you can leverage that money so you don't have to buy the property cash. You can actually put down 25%, use that money, put down 25, again, getting leverage on the leverage. So it's like you're building leverage upon leverage, and then use it for a property strategy that you can add loads of value. A lot of times you can double the equity you've put in there. So it's like it's a no-brainer. That money that is quote unquote borrowed money has enabled you the opportunity to now buy another asset that is now yielding you cash flow. But not only is it yielding you cash flow, you've now done it in a way you've added value. You can release the equity back, put it back in the account. You now have a free house. So there's loads of opportunity, but make sure you know what it is you're doing before you release the equity, and also release the equity at the right time. So again, this is where you may need to speak to your broker and make sure you're releasing at the right time. If you're going to be paying early repayment charges, what's the cost of that? Can you put that, can that cost be accounted for in your new deal analysis? If not, would it be worth waiting a month before you get that money out to get out of the early repayment charges? So there's a lot of variables to that. Can I, Elizabeth, I don't know what the timing is like. Can I answer very quickly? I saw a question from an estate agent earlier on.
Yes, please.
So what kind of strategies can you, I guess we've probably spoken about different strategies, but one of the key things, because I have some estate agents within my mastermind group, one of the key things that you guys have access to that we don't is you have access to the great properties. So as an estate agent, you're starting off, you're going to have access to the landlords of properties that are run down. It's almost like I have to go through you to get access to properties. You have direct access. Now, I don't know the code of conduct within your organization. Once you understand what you are allowed to or not allowed to, guess what? You have access to all the properties. You have access to investors. Because again, some of these people are tired landlords. They've done it for many years. They know what property is, but they don't want to do the hard work. So what they need is the new fresh energy that you've got, that and they can leverage and they want to continue investing. Because I have one of my students, literally that's how she met one of our major investor, who he's done lots of property, he knows what he is, but he doesn't have that energy as he used to. And he uses her as that energy, and they both invest with their joint venture. So you have access to investors, you have access to the properties, rundown properties, even before they come on the market. You can buy it, or you then work with a network of other people that you can sell those deals to. So there's a lot of opportunities there for estate agents. I just thought I would mention that.
Amazing. Yes, thank you so much. I hope that has answered your questions around Rachel. So thank you so much. Is there any other questions or any other comments that you can put in the chat as we are just rounding up? And I just wanted to say again, when I said happy birthday, there's something that you probably don't know, is that you're actually born on the same day.
Are you serious?
That was amazing. When I saw that it was your birthday,
happy birthday.
Yeah.
Now that explains it.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you, and happy birthday to you too.
So, wow. I don't have many people that are born on the same day, so that's
so yeah, this is a wonderful birthday celebration.
Oh wow. Today is my husband's birthday, actually.
Amazing. Happy birthday to him as well. Okay, thank you so much, Toyin. Thank you, and thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for your time, for your efforts, for your insights and your wisdom. I am definitely sending an email to academy@iCourage today, because I need to find out more about your mastermind. I encourage you guys to do the same. This has been an amazing time with you, an amazing 1 hour. Well, thank you for going over. And I just pray that you continue to exceed even as you've stepped into this new year, and you exceed your wildest dreams, and God will grant all your desires for you in the mighty name of Jesus. So Fumi says thank you. Rachel says happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. No,
And
I've had
there's a bunch more.
amazing
Thank you. This is awesome. Super helpful. It absolutely has been. So thank you so much. Yeah. And Maria says thank you to
Thank you
you.
so much. Really, really, I've enjoyed being with you guys. And yes, you can tell it doesn't take much for me to get me talking. But we've gone over an hour. So sorry if we've gone over. But no, I've had a lovely, lovely time. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
And well done for the great job you're doing. So you guys should be saying all the thanks to Elizabeth for holding this space and allowing we all be blessed, because it's an amazing thing, and it's great when you meet people that are not gatekeepers, that allow opening the door. They've gone through and they're opening the door for everyone else to come in. It's amazing, and we need more of you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for holding the space.
Thank you, Toyin. I appreciate you so much. Okay, so the replay will be out today, and have an amazing time. Have an amazing weekend, and hopefully we'll have Toyin back again with part 2 of of property profits. If you have more questions as you start your property journey that you would like her to answer, send them to me, and then we'll see if we can bring her back to answer those questions in particular. Okay, have a great day.